What's a story where the bad guys are actually, completely, 100% right? To the point where it's weird the story keeps calling them the bad guys. Every single Donald Duck cartoon. Dude usually just wants to chill out without being bothered, and there's always someone bothering him, and then he gets blamed for standing up for his own needs. The older I get, the more I empathize with Donald Duck. Disney understood that back in the day, too. His cartoons were actually more popular than Mickey's because he was more relatable. IIRC, when Disney was asked to make a cartoon explaining how income tax helped the war effort during World War II, they chose Donald, because he would be relatably frustrated with the whole process at first but learn how it worked. Mrs. Doubtfire because Pierce Brosnan was really nice and was a lonely middle-aged man who wanted a family, but Mrs. Doubtfire was so mean to him and even tried to kill him with pepper knowing he was allergic. Don't forget that drive-by fruiting. Peter Pan. The pirates are just grown-up lost boys that he brought to Neverland. They just want to leave and return to their lives. Also, if you read the book, he's been kidnapping Wendy's female ancestors for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Every time the laundry and dirty dishes stack up too high, he goes to Earth and finds a Wendy to come clean up for him so he never, ever has to clean up for himself. At the end of the novel, he makes a deal with Wendy's parents that she can come to Neverland to take care of him for a few weeks every year. And when she gets too old, he takes her daughter, and then her daughter, and then her daughter. The Wendys never get to go on any of the adventures, of course, just stay back at headquarters and cook and clean for a team of disgusting and poorly behaved boys. Tom the Cat. He was trying to rid of a mouse that frequently stole food and trashed the house. Tom was just doing his job as the cat of the house. Jerry used to instigate and taunt him. One time he got Tom punished and he got his head chopped off by the guillotine. This is a wild pull lol but high school musical. I'd be pissed if I worked my ass off for years to get the lead in a musical only for them to give it to someone else who didn't technically attend the auditions. In High School Musical 2, they were all such brats about having to actually work at the job they got. And not getting to participate in an event at the country club because they had to work that night? They're not members there, they're staff. Plus, the guy was totally right to be mad at Gabriella for leaving a lifeguard shift early unless there was a replacement who took over. Any rom-com where the main character cheats on their partner with the new love interest that they end up with. I was reading a Christmas Hallmark movie story from the other side, where two Wall Street people who are working hard staying up nights to save up money for future marriage and kids realize their partners went away to a small town and cheated on them with a charming local on a whim, on Christmas Day. So, they ditch their partners and form a power couple, and buy a penthouse in New York and get their happy ending. That weird episode of Friends where Phoebe is convinced her dead mother is reincarnated as a cat so she tries to steal it from its owners, and Ross is presented as the bad guy for pointing out how ridiculous this is. I read that this plot was actually suggested by one of the main writers who had recently lost their own parent. Nobody wanted to point out that it was stupid because they didn't want to seem insensitive, so they all just went with it. Most heist movies. Oh, he's doing it to afford medicine for his sick child. Okay, but he just killed 14 security guards, none of whom will be going home to their families now. Lol. In Once Upon a Time, Snow White's character is like wrecking henchmen, and in random nobody guard types W her bow and arrow, definitely killing PPL. Then she gets to the most evil character at the time, the literal evil queen and reason for all the bad shit going on. What does Snow White do? Decides now that she wants stoop to the queen's level and she will choose mercy. Any documentary about card counting told from the casino's perspective. Card counters are made to be the bad guys in these documentaries even though we really aren't doing anything wrong. Casinos are inherently morally corrupt and terrible for communities. They use several tactics to make it impossible for the average person to realize how much money they are actually spending. And card counting isn't even cheating. It's not like how the movies make it out to be. Real card counting is simply looking at the cards as they come out of the shoe. There's no trick. It's just looking at the cards and using a memorization system to keep track of everything. For an apt comparison, Imagine being banned from chess tournaments for using your head too much. That's what card counters get banned for. Thinking too hard. And casinos make us out to be the bad guy for being above average at one casino game. Insane how we are the bad guys, when in reality, they make hundreds of thousands by getting patrons drunk enough to the point that they blow all their savings. Fuck casinos. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Join our Patreon channel to get access to exclusive content and other unique features like early access and exclusive voting rights. Your support will help us create even more content and grow further. Thank you for your support. Police Academy. They let a bunch of violent, unstable, dishonest deadbeats into the police force, and the chief of police was supposed to be okay with that? He was doing the public a favor by trying to weed out the worst ones. It's a different take, but Mahoney didn't even want to be there in the first place, but I think it was court-ordered or something. In fact, most of them were misfits and probably never ever should have worn a uniform. Far Cry 4, Pagan Min was actually the good guy the entire time. Granted, he was an awful person, but best of a bad situation sort of thing. The two leader of the Golden Path, whichever one you side with, ends up turning on you after you deal Pagan. Whether they're forcing children and women to be slaves or soldiers or just straight executing them, that's what the freedom fight comes to. Ajay, the character you play as, is probably the only good person throughout the whole game, and you get the choice to become leader of Golden Path by killing either Sable or the chick, I forget her name. But anyways, Pagan was honest to Ajay the whole time, if you wait like he tells you at the start of the game. He comes back and you spread the ashes like your mother wanted you to. That's the proper ending of the game, and it takes 15 minutes. You avoid the civil war and being abducted entirely. I never kill Pagan now, because even though he had Mohan killed, he had Ajay's best interest at heart. Ruthless leader, but he's better than actual terrorists. Magneto in X-Men. He always thought humans would try to destroy mutants, and he was right, because they tried. He might have been a bit extreme, but man, it's hard not to feel some sympathy for him after the shitty hand that life, and humans, dealt him early on. I've always viewed him as the Malcolm X to Professor Xavier's MLK. My X-Men knowledge is very pedestrian though, so I'm probably off. Continuum is a sci-fi show where terrorists travel back in time from the near future to try and change history. The main character gets trapped in the past with them and has to try and prevent them from changing anything. Except the future they are trying to change is one where society is ruled by a corporate congress. Humans' rights are basically out the window and things are pretty fucked up. From the get-go, you kind of want the bad guys to win. That's arguably the point of the whole show though. By the end, the main character agrees that she was wrong. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments below the video, write what's a story where the bad guys are actually, completely, 100% right, to the point where it's weird the story keeps calling them the bad guys. Bye, everyone.